Hi, baby boomer fans. We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade.
We chronicled the distinct memories of our childhood in our book, While the Windmill Watched, a slice of rural America in the 1950s, which takes you on a notably historic journey through that often forgotten decade. We also want to hear about your experiences during the 1950s. We will feature guests whose special stories of that decade will bring to mind magical moments of reflection, some with tears, some with smiles, but above all, a good dose of laughter.
We would like you to chat with us as we bring to mind the sights and sounds so familiar to that time in history. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Hello, so nice to have you join us. We are excited as always to bring on a new guest each week onto the 1950s Fun Chat program. And before we get started and introduce our guest today, we would like to have you please click on the red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. And we certainly hope that you like this program and that you will click the thumbs up symbol and let us know that this really met your ears and your eyes very well. Jackie.
Yes, and while you're perusing the screen, I'd like to call your attention to the upper right-hand corner where you see the cover of our book, While the Windmill Watched, a slice of rural America in the 1950s. And you'll notice that it has a beautiful scene on it. It is a North Dakota sunset, and this wraps around the cover of our book. And our book includes so many memories Janine and I have in living in the Northern Plains in the 1950s. So I am really excited to introduce our guest to you now. His name is Greg Nelson. Greg was born and raised in Bismarck and attended Bismarck Public Schools, Bismarck Junior College, and then 1 year at the University of North Dakota, followed by traveling throughout the United States for 1 year with a Christian folk group. He returned to Bismarck and married his high school sweetheart, Pam Wetch, graduated from Mary College, and taught in both the elementary schools and finally in Bismarck High for 7 years. He conducted the fledgling city orchestra, co-owned a recording studio, served in the military, conducted 2 church choirs, and led a performing singing group. And then he served full-time as a church youth director for 2 years and formed a record label, and then moved to Los Angeles for 2 years and eventually settled in Nashville to become a producer, songwriter, and publisher. Oh, breathless. Welcome, Greg.
Hello.
Hello.
Glad to be here.
We're great. It's great to have you here. Greg, when listening to your introduction, it seems as if you have mastered multitasking, or you are a master at accomplishing a goal and then proceeding on to the next goal. So
I'm just ADHD.
What have you found the most challenging in becoming the person you are today?
The most challenging? That's pretty easy. Just trying to work around being, I'm ADHD off the map, and how to throughout my life trying to manage that, and having certain being obsessive compulsive and a perfectionist, and so you have to. You can't change those in you, but you can temper those things, and you can find ways to do. Like there's nothing on the left side of my brain. I have no processing skill at all, none, and I'm totally right-brained. And so how I manage that is my wife is very organized, and I listen to her. And I always had an assistant when I was in the middle of multiple productions and stuff like that. I had a production manager who handled all of the, hotels or stuff and renting equipment and getting my equipment from studio to studio. And I didn't have to deal with any of that because that's not what I did. And so I would say that was the most challenging.
But the great thing is, Greg, is that you recognize that and you were able to work with that and have a wonderfully productive life too by realizing that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was a slow process. That I didn't know what was wrong with me. No one had. Not until later in life was I diagnosed with it.
Mhm.
I just grew up thinking I was strange and kind of lost.
Mhm.
Mm,
So,
mhm.
That must have been quite hurtful at times.
well, it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't cute. People always say, "Oh, isn't that cute?" No, there's nothing cute about it, and there's nothing cute about not being organized and not coming on your to an appointment when you're supposed to, or even
Mhm.
remembering it. And
Yeah.
so no, it's not cute and it's not fun.
Okay. So,
Right.
Greg, back in the 1950s, there's been so much growth in the knowledge of ADHD and of mental health. So, in the 1950s, as a student, how was your life challenged by the educational system versus what you think it might be now?
Uh, well, I think I would understand when you say tell me what you mean by that, by being challenged. You
Okay,
mean
ADHD, from what I would remember, ADHD in the 1950s probably wasn't an oft considered diagnosis
you're
for a child's ability to grow in learning or
yes,
to maintain attention in the classroom.
right.
But
They
yet,
just go ahead.
what we know now about that,
Mhm.
how can you relate to what it was like back then in the educational system?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, they just thought I was a daydreamer. They thought that I was irresponsible and didn't pay attention to. I can remember in even my sophomore year, uh, I would go and practice my cello in the practice room, and then my English teacher would come and say, "You have English now. Get in here." Mrs. Welsh, I'll never forget
Okay.
that. And and I wasn't didn't do it to be mean. I honestly I don't know how I got through up until I was. I really don't know how that. I just went from one thing to the other.
Mhm.
Okay.
I just kind of, okay, I'll do this next. Okay, I'll do this next, and I just kind of went with whatever I was in my heart to do.
And how did the fine arts help you cope in life? Because
Oh
you're
well,
so talented.
yeah. Well, I can tell you that there's one person, and I keep bringing her up all the time, Rosemary Pearson. Uh, when when I was very young, I was there was a time there where just in plain English, I was in an abusive situation, uh, and I was so lost. I was ADHD.
Mhm.
That was happening to me, uh, and I wanted to die. That's what I wanted to do.
Mm, poor girl.
I didn't want to be around, and because I can remember sitting on my lawn going, "That's got to be better than this," and
Oh,
and and so uh, and I tried violin. My brother played violin. He was really good, and my hand, I have a pinched nerve in my left hand, so my hand would shake, and I played violin very poorly, and failed at everything. And my sister, Sigrid,
mhm.
skips first grade, gives her own piano recital. She's 5 years old, uh, playing Bach partitas and stuff like that. Perfect
I
pitch.
remember that.
And
Yes.
and and my brother, you know, he's a multi-visitors and he's succeeding, and I'm in the middle. And it was really the worst time of my life. But there was one, if you ever wonder what a teacher can do, when they tried out for cello, they said we need more cello players because they were tired of cello players in the high school, so they wanted to get more. And I was in junior high, and they said, well, if you come at this time, you can try out for cello. So I thought, well, I've done everything, and maybe this might work. So I walked in to the high school orchestra room, and there was Rosemary, and I was the only one there. And she said, "Oh, Greg, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so happy you come."
Yes.
And I just started crying because no one ever said that to me. And she said she saw I was kind of weeping. I said I got something in my eye or something. And then she said, well, go pick out a cello. And I said, oh no, here we go. So I picked one up and sat down. And this time, instead of playing violin like this where your hand shakes, because my hand was relaxed with the cello.
Amen.
And it didn't. And I just took to it. And I slept with it. I practiced, and I never left it. It was always right with me that I would lay down, I remember, next to the chair in the stand, sleep, and then get up and then start practicing again. She was so instrumental in just my whole life changed. I could do something, and I could do it really well.
Yes.
And that changed everything in me. Then my life changed. My head just flipped. So teachers, if you ever think you don't have an effect on students, you can think again. You do.
Yes. Well, Greg, from my association with you and Sigrid and your family, your musical abilities were on a scale of 1 to 10. They were 20 to 30 versus what the rest of us were. I was so in awe of what you could do. And Greg, I still have a visual in my mind of watching you come into that choir room or watching you leave it, because you had so much energy and so much excitement about you. And then, of course, it was second period was concert choir, third period was symphony orchestra. Right. And the day, I believe it was the Tuesday, when you were a senior, but every Tuesday, Mr. Van Huvelen would have you as the director of when we practice. Yeah. I loved watching you, and because you knew how you wanted every instrument to sound. Now, did it get that way? No, but you coaxed it out of us.
But what a gift to me that he nourished and nurtured that in me.
Yes.
That's I'm forever grateful to him. I would never have had that opportunity and never had someone counseling me and mentoring me. And so I'm deeply appreciative of him too.
Yes. And I remember your girlfriend, your girlfriend Pam, who ended up becoming your wife.
That's right. We went to junior high and senior high prom together, and then just kind of hung in there, and then I didn't see any need to date anybody else.
So have you on occasion thought of her as God sent this angel to you to be with you throughout your life and to help you along? That sounds like that's what Pam is.
Oh man, absolutely. You know, there are certain things. You know, when you think, I always get a kick at the starry-eyed look of a guy standing at the altar watching his bride to be walk up the aisle,
Yeah.
and they're all smiling, and I sit almost every time I go, you have no idea.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
You say that in a positive way or a
Yeah.
negative?
Yeah. Well, no. You're both married, I think, and
right.
You know the drill. I mean,
Yeah.
it is. You know, there are good days and there's bad days, and but you just you find out what love is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's what you do. You don't. You think you know it when you get married, and then you find out what it is later.
Right. So I have a. Excuse
Go
me,
ahead,
Janine. Okay, thanks. Well, I have a broad question for you.
Yes.
How do you feel the tone of the upper Midwest has changed from when you were living in North Dakota? And since it's such a broad question, perhaps you want to just focus in on one or two topics. What comes to mind?
Well, I really don't. I don't know how it changed. I know what it is and what I keep seeing coming from it, and it's that sort of Garrison Keillor, you know, keep her in the middle of the road, don't get the big head, you know, just keep her steady and work hard, and I don't think that's, but generationally, I think some of that has changed. What you expect. We didn't expect much because our parents were, and your parents were, probably raised in the Depression, and especially as farmers, they would know what that meant. And so our view of that, kind of that thing that I just described, has changed just generationally.
True.
And technically, I mean, they have access to, you know, that's how a lot of music was for us, and now it's that's changed exponentially because we grew up just adopting what was going on in the urban centers. R&B from Motown and the doo-wop stuff from New York, and we kind of adapted that. We didn't know what R&B was. I mean, you know, but we liked it, and so we kind of adapted it. But now it's you now you have. As far when we're talking about the Midwest, I think it's gotten more informed. They're much more informed in every area that we were before. Because you think about it, I mean, when we came down to Nashville, I mean, I remember seeing the right things going on when I lived in North Dakota, but I didn't know what that meant. I had no really connection to that. I didn't really understand what that was about. I didn't understand what happened to Native Americans up there. Their plight up there. They were just kind of up there, and they were in school with us, and that's it. But I didn't think it. But my mother lived on a training school. That's where she grew up in Frayne Barracks in Bismarck. That was an Indian. That was what they called an Indian training school, but Native American. Not the term. I don't use that. But they were training their culture out of them, and she didn't know what was going on when she was there. when her dad was a maintenance guy, the head maintenance guy. So that's what he did. So things were different then. We didn't really realize what was going on.
Right.
I concur.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
For
Go ahead, Janine.
us, when I was at NDSU, the big thing was zip to zap. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yep.
That's right.
Zip to zap.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't do that.
I didn't go, but
No, I didn't either. We played a lot. My group, the Prisms, played shows out there. I remember we played in one little town outside of Bismarck. I can't remember the name of it. And they had netting up in front of us. We were in high school, and they let us play in this bar. But that's as close to zap as I got.
Okay. Well,
And so,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, was the netting there so that when they started throwing eggs and tomatoes,
That's exactly. Yeah. No, beer cans. They would throw beer cans at you. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
Then, if you think back to your life in the 50s in Bismarck, in the upper Great Plains, and to where you are now, can you make that association of the preparation that was going on within your mind in the music world to where you are now as a Grammy honoree?
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. I never thought about my mother. First of all, my mother, my dad was a singer, and my mother was taught us piano. And from the time we were in diapers, I can remember my mother marching us around in the living room, pounding on pots and pans, and making sure that we beat those pots and pans in time. She taught us piano from the get-go when we were 4. I mean, when we were very, very little. My sister was playing at 3. I remember we drove across a bridge one time. She was 3 years old, and she was jumping up in the back. We just hated her. I mean, she jumped up in the back. Said, "Drive 25, Dad. That's a B flat." And we go, "What?" The hum of the bridge at 25 was B flat, and we lived next to the bridge, so we're all going, and we went into the. She was right. It was.
Wow.
It was just
amazing.
So yeah, but we were around that when we drove in the car. My dad sang to us. That's all we knew. My mother's so funny. When we're all older, she said, "I don't know how all 3 of you got into music." And I thought, what do you think, we're going to get into football? I mean, that's all we knew. That's all we saw. So to you, Janine, it wasn't so much that we were so all fire brilliant and stuff like that. If someone shows you a yellow poster all of your life, and then you mention that to someone, that's a yellow poster. Wow, that's really brilliant. No, it's not. It's been drilled in. It's been drilled into your head.
Did you ever want to be in sports or any other activities?
I was. I was on the swimming team. I was on the trampoline team, and I enjoyed that. I went out for football once and got into a meat grinder with Randy Ives and Mike Hill, who were huge guys. And that meat grinder is when you hit that's 2-on-1, and I quit after that. I said, I don't think I'll be playing any more football. Yeah, I said I wasn't put up for that.
Not for you.
No, but I loved. I worked at a trampoline center all summer, one summer, and so I got really good on the trampoline, and I loved to swim, so I was swimming all the time too. And we had horses. So
you did?
Oh yeah.
Oh, where did you keep them?
We kept them at Perry's little farm up north of Bismarck, and I go right there. That's where I rode, and I rode a lot when I was in junior high.
Did your brother and sister ride
No,
also?
I was the only one. My dad and myself.
What a great activity! Was that relaxing for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like when I played the cello, I could go somewhere in my mind and not think about anything else. And I think that's why I liked writing so much, because it was in those difficult moments that I wrote a lot.
Well, Greg, we're in wrapping up our broadcast today. I think one last question for you, and that is, if you can recall, what one pleasant or fun memory can you recall of the 50s?
Yeah, yes. Of course, there's multiple, but the camaraderie was there. When one person went to the dance, everybody went to the dance. If we're going to go to the movies tonight, and everybody went to the movies. Church groups, we did things together. Being out at the Big Boy, hanging out at the Big Boy, everyone would be out there hanging out. You didn't know everybody, but you got along with everybody for the most part. I mean, there's always little, but there wasn't people getting knifed, and there were people getting shot. There wasn't this enmity of between people like there is right now. So it's not that, and so that is the most pleasant memory. The overall camaraderie of the time.
It's interesting that you would say that, because so many of our guests do make note of that the 1950s was a time of cohesiveness in communities.
Yes,
we were there for each other.
Absolutely.
And not saying that there wasn't competition among each other, but we were there for each other. And that maybe that's why we like to talk so much about the 1950s, because it really resonated in us.
You know what? Yeah, and I think that's really good, and I think it's good to reflect on that. I know a lot of people who live in the past, and that's one thing I don't want to do. I don't want to live in that. There are so many exciting things. I'm 73, and I'm so excited now about so many things. I can begin to tell you, but I have a lot of friends who, especially in my profession, that are just holding on to what used to be, and it's just old.
Just old, yeah.
Greg, thank you so much for joining Jackie.
This was great.
On the 19th. Good. Well. So I'm going to put you backstage, and we'll when we complete the broadcast, we'll come back and chat a little bit more.
Super.
Thank you, Greg.
But thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Janine.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
And that was our guest, Greg Nelson. What a wonderful friend from the past in Bismarck. And we are just so excited that he could join us as well today. So, Jackie, until our next guest next week, we want folks to remember and think about and contemplate the times of the 50s, the times of poodle skirts, of cool cars, and of soda jerks.
And a final reminder to be sure to click on the red subscribe button and the little thumbs up icon. And do tell your friends, even your relatives, about the 1950s Fun Chat. Then join us live every week on Monday, 8 p.m. Central Time. And if you can't join us at that time, view our YouTube program found on the 1950s Fun Chat.
And until then, we want to let you be aware that you can learn more about We Pfeiffer Sisters by exploring the stories that we had and recorded in our book, While the Windmill Watched, a slice of rural America in the 1950s. And if you're just interested in having a copy of that book on hand or giving it as a Christmas gift to your friends or your family, maybe even an extra copy for yourself to share, you can order that book online at our website, whilethewindmillwatched.com. That's whilethewindmillwatch.com. And that's been tickering across the bottom of our screen also. So remember, we've had so much fun today, and we hope that you have too. And we'll see you next time on the 1950s Fun Chat. Bye-bye.
We appreciate and thank each and every one of you, our viewers. Toodaloo.